What's up, guys? We are going to talk about why the basics are so important, why they work, and why kind of doing more advanced things are not necessary and just not a good idea, especially in the beginning when you're first getting started. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in. I have my notes just in case I get distracted, and I'm gonna try not to get too excited about this because I get very like about things. So we're gonna try and stay calm and just explain it. Okay? Okay. So I guess we should start with, I'm gonna start with the basic. I don't know where I'm gonna start. I'm probably just gonna go all over the place. Okay, let's just go for it. I have notes and I'm gonna do my best. Okay, so when we see things, and I get why it's understood that way, we say that, we want to get healthy and we want to be fit and we want to lose fat and we want to do all these things. And the majority of the things that we see like marketed to us or just everything we've always been told, is just like, in order to do this, you have to have extreme workouts. You have to sweat a lot. You have to burn a ton of calories. You have to be in this crazy diet. You have to drink these shakes. You have to drink these teas. You have to drink. It's just like it's all very extreme. Why? Because it's more exciting to look at, obviously. You don't want to look at somebody who's just like, going on a walk every day and working out 4 times a week and drinking their water and, eating semi-whole clean foods, and like it's not as exciting as like these extremes, so that's a big part of it. So it's no one's fault. Well, we know whose fault it is. Anyways, so I get why, but the thing is that you do not need to be on those extremes. And yes, those extreme workouts and extreme diet plans and all these things, we're going to get into this, are good and are necessary for a certain population. And once you've hit a certain level of fitness and level of health and you want to maybe take it to the next level, then those things are necessary or might be beneficial and things like that. But to start off, there is absolutely no reason why you need to start with an intense program. You need to start changing all your habits overnight. You need to start doing all of these things, because if you think about it, if you can't get the basic foundations down, if you can't work out consistently 3 times a week or track your calories for a week, what makes you think a more advanced program is a good idea? Like, oh, this is too easy. No, I wouldn't say it's too easy because you can't do it or you can't follow it. So this seems too simple. That's probably why it's not working. Instead of thinking that like, that's not why it's not working. It's not working because you're not being consistent enough, So there's no reason why you should add more things to your schedule, So what it's going to take, the basics that you need to understand, and you don't need to do all of these at once either. That's the thing. If you're going from 10 years of no activity, I don't even care. That's dramatic. If you're going from 2 years, a year of no activity, not caring about what you're eating, putting whatever in your body, drinking whatever, like not hitting your sleep, not doing any kind of physical activity planned, then you need to start with this list. You don't need to start with some extreme P90X kind of situation, and you don't need to start in an extreme calorie deficit because you haven't been doing these things, first of all, for a year or 2 years or 10 years on some levels, so you're setting yourself up for failure if you think that you're going to, in a week or in a couple of days, change your entire life and your habits and everything, and then voila, magic is going to happen. And even if you do stick it out for a week, you're going to be miserable. You're not going to notice absolutely zero changes. Like nothing is going to change about you. Nothing. So you're going to be discouraged and you're going to be miserable for an entire week. And then to you, that's going to signal to you in your brain, like, this isn't working. I might as well go back to doing what I was doing. I was enjoying all the foods I was eating. I didn't have to make myself do these exercises that I don't even like. So that's what you're kind of setting yourself up for. So before you want to do any kind of extremes, and I'll get into that in a minute, what I mean by when I say extremes, you need to be able to work out consistently 3 times a week for at least a month. You need to get your sleep in every night, 7 hours minimum. You need to be in your calorie deficit for at least 4 weeks. I say 4 weeks because, I'm trying to give you something, but really it needs to be like 6 to 8 to know that you are on the trajectory to make like serious lifestyle changes, because even 4 weeks isn't a very long time, but it's a great, great, great start. So if you've gone, nothing, 4 weeks, you need to be hitting your calories in your calorie deficit, a moderate calorie deficit for 4 weeks, tracking everything. You need to make sure you're getting your steps in every day. You need to be making sure that the majority of your food is whole foods, okay? Every single day for weeks. And like I said, we don't need to hit all of these at once. You can start with one. If you want to say, okay, this is my checklist that I want to get to, and in the next 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, I want to focus on getting 5 of these things on these lists mastered, and so that way I'm doing them by second nature. That's great. Start with one though. If you haven't been doing any of these things on the list, pick one. Pick either the hardest one. I know some people like to start with the hardest, so that way they can work their way down, or some people like to start with the easiest, so that way they can stack some wins. I like to start with the easiest because I like to stack some wins. Whenever you stack wins, it gives you this confidence and this self-esteem booster to know that you can do things and know that you can do it, and know that, it just gives you a confidence boost, So I like to start with the easy ones. So if that to you means, your least barrier of entry is going to be going for a 5-minute walk every day. And it's like, you stick your nose up at like a 5-minute walk. That's ridiculous. That's not even going to do anything. Well, what are you doing now? Nothing? Okay, great. So go for a 5-minute walk every day. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, that was a little sassy. But I'm serious. Like, people want to stick their nose up at the simplest things, like, oh, work out 3 times. That's it. Just these 6 exercises. There's nothing else. I have to, what? Sleep? What? That doesn't make any sense. And it's like, you haven't been doing any of this. You haven't been working out 1 day a week. You haven't been working out. You haven't been doing 2 exercises. So it's like, don't stick your nose up at something because you think it's too easy or whatever, because it's not too easy. Because if it was too easy, you would already be doing it. Tough love. So find one thing that you can conquer. And once you've been doing it consistently for like 2, when I say 1 at a time, that doesn't mean you have to do only 1 for 4, 6, 8 weeks. If you feel like you do, then totally do that. But you don't have to, you can do 1, and let's say, okay, I'm going on a 5-minute walk every single day for 2 weeks now. Let me try to do a 10-minute walk 4 times a week. Like small ways like that. And over time, you're going to stack these wins, and you're going to get the confidence to do harder things. But you need to stack wins first, and then start adding new habits. Okay, cool. I'm all going on a 10, 15-minute walk every single day. No issues. Like, good to go there. So now I'm going to add in majority whole foods. So now every day, instead of going out to lunch and getting fast food or whatever, I'm going to eat whole foods mostly every day, mostly all my lunches, whatever the trick, you know what I mean? Say whatever it is you have to say to yourself. Or another example, there's like so many different ways to do this, if you go out to eat 4 days a week, tell yourself, I'm only going to go out to eat 2 times a week for the next couple of weeks, only twice, just like little things like that. And stack those wins, because that is going to be the foundation of your health and wellness, because you're always going to be needing to hit the gym through at least 3 times a week. Your water intake is always going to need to be had or made or whatever. Your steps are always going to need to be done. Your eating whole foods is always going to need to be done. Your sleep is always going to need to be done. Your calorie deficit, or if wherever you're at, calorie maintenance, calorie surplus, whatever, it's always going to need to be monitored and maintained in whatever situation you're in. So those are always going to be the basics. Then from there, once you've mastered that and you have that down and you're seeing progress and things are going well, then you can start adding things. Trying to live in like a balanced lifestyle, you can't try to live in a balanced lifestyle if you don't know what that looks like. You can't just tell yourself like balance means I'm going to be super strict to Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, eat whatever I want. That's balance. That's not balance, So it's just like, you really just need to start slower. And then once you've mastered these things, then we can move on. So I want to talk about some of the things that I just don't think are a good idea when you're first starting out. They're unnecessary for one, and they're not a good idea. If you cannot master the top 5, like we already mentioned, maintain 3 times a week, sleep, calorie deficit, steps, whole foods. If you haven't mastered that, your foundation to your health and wellness, you have no business in these other sections, Master the basics, and don't stick your nose up at it if you think it's too easy. Like, oh, that's it? That's nothing. Well, it is something, because it's more than you're doing right now. So some things that like, you come, and I get it. It's all it's in marketing and media and stuff. And it's like, okay, great. I'm going to get started. What type of supplements do I need to take? You don't even take any supplements. You know what I mean? Like why would you think you need to take supplements? Like those are advanced protocols kind of thing, like once you're got everything down, you're crushing everything. Then maybe if you want to add some protein in and you want to take some pre-workout, like cool, you can add these things in, but your main focus is you need to focus on getting your steps, getting your sleep, getting your water, hitting your calories, and your workouts at least 3 times a week. You need to focus on those before you try to do anything else. And if you do not have those mastered, you have no business in the advanced category. It's just going to slow you down and hinder really your progress. It's not going to make you get there faster, You're going to be spending more money on supplements, and then whenever it doesn't work as fast as you want, then you're going to throw in the towel and be like, great, now I just spent all this money on supplements. Okay, so 5 times a week plus cardio plus HIIT, those are advanced programming, advanced protocols, there is nobody really that needs to be training 5 times a week unless you're like really, you have your training like really, really, really down, and you have recovery, and one of them is actually an active recovery day, and you're like, your sleep is on point, your eating is on point, everything is on point, like your recovery level is on 1,000. Then maybe you could squeeze in like, a 5th one if you really, really want to. But trying to add 5 times a week strength workouts plus do some cardio plus do some HIIT makes absolutely no sense, because like I said, if you're going from not doing anything fitness related or anything, movement related, working out 5 times a week is a very, very bad idea, and doing HIIT is a very, very bad idea. Those are advanced levels of fitness. If you can't recover properly from it, there's no point in doing it. And going from not doing much, to not learning the foundations, to not learning how to do a proper body weight squat and a proper body weight push-up, what makes you think that you need to go into a HIIT class and do jump squats? You don't. You know what I mean? Most people don't. So yeah, it's just like a bad idea. And again, it just it burns you out, and it makes you feel like, oh my God, this is what fitness is. I don't want to do this. I'm miserable. I'm good. And it's not even working as fast as I want. I look the same as I did last week. Oh, I'm good. I'm going right back to what I was doing. It's normal. You know what I mean? Your brain is like, hello, this isn't working, and you're miserable, and you're tired, and you're hurting yourself, and you look exactly the same way. So go back to doing what you were doing, So that's why these things are just not important. Now, if you're, a higher level athlete, or if you have reasons to be doing this, that's different. We're not going to get into that because I'm talking about general health, general population. And I want to talk about intuitive eating. A lot of people want to start with intuitive eating, and no, you can't do that. You can't start with intuitive eating if you don't know how many grams are in a 5 ounces of chicken off the top of your head, if you don't know how many calories, grams of carbs are in half a cup of rice, if you don't know what these measurements look like without having to weigh them and measure everything, then you cannot do intuitive eating yet. You have to learn what that means, You have to learn what your body, what calories look like, what calories feel like to you, to then be able to do intuitive eating. Everybody who does intuitive eating now successfully started tracking. I think I tracked my calories for probably the first 3 to 5 years of my health and wellness journey, a long ass time ago. And yeah, now I know what intuitive eating looks like. Now I know what a serving of food, I can look at my plate and know what a serving of everything is. Obviously, it's not down to the number, but it's very freaking close. And, eating the same things on a regular basis really, really help with that. So I definitely suggest you just get over it and figure out how to eat consistently the same things over and over again. Even if you stick with the same proteins, the same, it makes your life so much easier. And then it also makes intuitive eating that much easier. But yeah, you just need to know off the top of your head, what is 3 ounces of pasta look like? What does this a 500 calorie, 600 calorie meal make me feel like? What does this make me feel like? What is, you have to go through that process, and you're not going to be able to go through that process initially without tracking everything. So that way you can see. Most people, when they track, they don't know how much fat they're getting. They think that they're just like over carbs all the time. They're overeating carbs. You're not overeating carbs. Most people are overeating on fat, but you don't know that until you track everything. You have to track everything, and then you can get into intuitive eating. Like, you have to earn the right to do intuitive eating, you have to spend time and effort and energy, Don't just come and say, oh, I deserve intuitive eating. Like, okay. So anyways, and that will also teach you balance. It will teach you that, Monday through Thursday being super, super strict, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, people think that their weekends can't affect their weekdays. And yes, you can. All you need to do is be in a 3,500 calorie surplus per week to gain weight. And what's that? 15 extra, about 1,800 calories extra from your maintenance on from Friday to Sunday? Are you kidding me? That's super easy. You can go to Chili's right now and consume 3,500 calories if you want to, with drinks, appetizers, food, So don't underestimate that, and don't think that it's just one bad meal. It's just, 4 days out of the 7, I'm like super clean. Like, it matters, So that's another reason why tracking helps, because if you track all that food, even on the weekends, then you're going to be able to see those numbers and be like, holy cow, I'm doing so much damage to myself, And then you're going to be more motivated to not want to do that if you see the numbers. But ignoring them and then just only tracking Monday through Friday to make yourself feel better is only going to make you feel like you're in a calorie deficit, and you're not. And that's going to be even more frustrating, Okay, so I need to slow down because I'm like, my throat's getting in there. I'm like excited, and I can tell I'm starting to scream. Okay. Yeah, like these food prep systems. You don't need that. You know what I mean? And I don't suggest you start with that anyways. If you're just like a super busy person and you just don't have the time or the energy, like I get it, but you really need to prep some food and learn what food looks like. This is a part of the process. Learn what measurements of food looks like. Learn what all of these things look like. So that way you can do it for yourself, you know what I mean? And when you go out to eat and you don't have a food prep system, you know what your plate looks like, and you can look at your plate when they bring it to you and say, okay, this is 2 servings. Like, I need to take some of this home. This isn't 1 serving, And you only learn that by tracking everything you're doing. Okay, so stress levels, like, stress affects your body and the way you recover, which recovery, we already know, affects the way that you adapt to fitness and health and weight, and resistance training, So I'm not going to say being stressed makes you gain fat. It doesn't. The after effects of being stressed might, like, if some people, if they're stressed, they they consume extra calories, or they consume extra, sweets and things like that, that can lead to it. Or if some people are stressed, they just shut down, so they don't hit their workouts, and they don't, you know what I mean? All those things will lead to stress, but being just stressed without those extra factors doesn't cause you to gain weight. You know what I mean? Cortisol, the stress hormone, causes you to retain more water, but that's water. That's not weight, So that doesn't happen. But the point is that stress can affect, like I said, the foods that you choose, your recovery, your exercise, like consistency. So why would you want to add more stress to yourself than we already do in everyday life right now? By getting a more advanced program and being in a calorie deficit that's so ridiculous that a toddler cannot handle, and trying to work out 5 days a week where you have no wiggle room. Like, let's say Tuesday, family things come up. So now, since you're in a situation where you have to work out 5 days a week, you have Saturday and Sunday to make up your workout. Your weekend, you have to make up your workout. Why would you put yourself in that stressful situation when it's unnecessary? And I mean, I get it. I keep saying this over and over again. I get it. What we see on social media is these extremes and, what people are doing that work. But you have to figure out, like, where are you in your health journey? Like, where are you? Where have you started? What have you been doing the last year? And if you don't have the foundation of your fitness solid, advanced programming won't stand on that foundation. It will fall every time. You have to just focus on the basics and stop thinking that you need to do all these fancy shit that you see on Instagram and social media, and all these new gyms that are popping up, like it's like infrared weight training I saw the other day. So you do your weight training in a sauna. In whose brain did we think that was a good idea? Oh, I know, marketing brain. Marketing to, take advantage of people who aren't aware of what really works and who think that these extremes are going to turn some magic. Nothing magical is going to happen when you get in that sauna except you're going to sweat your ass off, okay? Nothing magical is going to happen about that unless you change your habits outside of that, unless you change your water, unless you change your recovery, unless you change the foods that you're putting in your body, unless you change your steps, unless you change all of these healthy habits. That is not going to do anything, So, yeah, we just feel like the basic stuff doesn't work because it seems so simple, but you haven't even tried it. So why would you say it doesn't work if you haven't tried it? I mean, what do you have to lose? If it's so basic and so simple, what do you have to lose? Nothing. You have nothing to lose by trying it. So just try it. And if the basics don't work after 4, 6, 8 weeks, something is wrong. And I hate to say this, but you're doing something wrong. And get with somebody you trust, ask them to look over what you're doing, and that means that you need to have logs. You need to have logs of your workouts, and you need to have logs of your calories. And if you don't have that, then guess what? In 4, 6, 8 weeks, you can't say it's not working because you don't have the evidence to show that, and you don't have the data to show that. So you just have what your brain's telling you, the effort that you're putting in, but you don't have anything else to say that. And our brain is a liar. So yeah, I hope that helps. But the thing is just stick to the basics and don't try to go faster than you need to, because there's no end goal. You're going to get there. And once you've mastered the basics, then you can do the fun extra stuff. You know what I mean? Like me, for example, I will sometimes go through like a little circuit. Like someone just starting out, I'm not going to recommend they do burpees with a snatch, and then they go into push-ups for three rounds as quickly as possible, minimal break. Why would I suggest that to somebody new? That's terrible. You know what I mean? Like, no. But if I know, like, I'm mentally there and I know what I'm expecting out of it. I know you know what I mean? So it's different. And I genuinely enjoy it. Like, I'd rather do burpees than run any day of the week. So, you don't have to do these intense protocols, but just know that if you want to, you will get there. But you're not going to get there if you can't do the basics, okay? You have to get the basics down, and that should be a sigh of relief, you know what I mean? Like, if someone gives you a list of basics that you need to do, like, hey, this is all you need to do. You actually don't need to do a crazy cardio. You actually don't need to be in an aggressive calorie deficit. You actually don't need to be working out 5 times a week. You actually don't need to be taking all these supplements. You don't need to be doing all these things should be a sigh of relief, but to most people, they're like, oh, I really wanted to do death by deadlifts today. And you're like, what? So anyways, okay, that's it. Again, I hope that was helpful, and shoot me a comment if you have any questions. Okay, bye.